Darkcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.
Hi, this is Kelly.
And this is Jenna.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is One Distortion Pedal from Murder.
Distortion pedal. So we're talking like band.
Okay, good.
I got it.
Well, because I could have just done distortion, but I was like, we could possibly use that for something else.
Yes.
Pedal. And yeah, so.
That works. Okay. Perfect.
So this is one of those stories that a friend of mine told me about a while ago, and I forgot about it. And
I have so many of those. Yeah.
I know. And then I saw Forensics Files on it, and I was like, oh yeah. And then it all kind of, then I was inspired
Cascaded.
again. So, yes. So, okay. I am taking us to Seattle, Washington, July 7th, 1993.
Oh, the hottest times of all.
Oh, yeah.
Best times. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready for the grunge.
Yeah. This is a section of the city called Capitol Hill.
Okay.
It's 3:20 a.m.
Oof.
And a woman's body is found by a prostitute.
Oh.
Not good.
Yeah.
Nothing good about that.
Probably
right?
not in the best area either then.
Right.
Okay.
It was kind of like in a deserted area where it was like a dead-end street. It's not a good thing.
No.
The woman had been horribly beaten, and she wasn't breathing, but her body was still warm. So it was like... Oh, my
God. So it just happened.
It just happened, right?
Look behind you. Look behind you, hooker. Not you.
Oh.
The hooker, the prostitute. Look behind you, hooker.
So they did call paramedics. They tried, but they weren't able to resuscitate her.
Oh.
The woman had no ID on her. She appeared to have been strangled by the drawstring of her hooded sweatshirt.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They used the...
How's it strong enough? Oh my God.
She was wearing a sweatshirt of a local band called The Gits.
Ooh,
there was
I like it.
Very, very little forensic evidence at the scene. So it appeared that she had been dumped there. That's not where the attack happened, right? Investigators initially, when they got to the scene, wondered if there was some kind of a religious link to the murder because her body was positioned kind of like in a crucifixion pose. So she had her legs together and her arms stretched to each side, right?
Ugh. Oh, but they could have just dragged her that way.
Right. But there was one of her arms kind of pointed out to the one way there was a Catholic church, and the other side was a Catholic, services community building.
Ooh, yikes.
So it was just kind of...
That's creepy.
A weird coincidence, right? That it was like, ooh, that's,
So pointing at two Catholic
Right. It was,
things.
right.
Okay.
But also, if you drag somebody, that's kind of what they look like, too.
Right,
so,
yeah.
But it was kind of a disturbing scene.
Yeah.
So when the medical examiner started his autopsy, he was surprised to find that he recognized the victim.
Oh, no. God, that'd be the worst.
Yes, she was the singer and front woman of a popular band that he liked to go see from Seattle. Her name was Mia Zapata. So I'm going to give you a little information on the Gits. They are considered the Gits. They're considered part of the early 90s Seattle music scene, along with Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Nirvana,
the good ones.
We all know those names, right?
Yes.
But all of them existed past 93.
Right.
Right? Okay.
So is it the Gits, GITS or Gits?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gits,
Gotcha.
Yep. So, all right, so here's the part where, because I have a lot of friends who are very into music, and I don't want to get into this whole, debate about grunge and punk rock and all that. Okay.
Right, what everything actually is.
I don't think that they were considered a grunge band, but in some articles they are referred to as a grunge band. Sometimes they're a punk band.
Okay.
Whatever. They were considered part of the scene.
Right.
And it was the early 90s, and it was Seattle. So we're just going to let that part go, right?
All those things were popular.
But, the Seattle sound is considered electric guitar played using a distortion pedal, feedback, the vocals that are really half sung, half screamed.
Yeah.
You know, that really gritty.
For sure. Yes.
You know,
raw.
it's not like dainty vocals and, you know, with the melody and all this. It's like, you know.
It's angry rock.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
You know, lots of flannel, combat boots.
Oh, yes. Good.
Unwashed hair, dreads, you know. It was good to look homeless. That was the look.
Yeah, it was popular. Please make me look homeless. Just don't smell like it.
Exactly. Mia Catherine Zapata was born August 25th, 1965 in Chicago, but she was raised in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
By the age of 9, she could play guitar and piano, so
color
me impressed. Yeah, it was very impressive.
Color me impressed.
She was influenced by punk rock, jazz, blues, R&B. Like, she liked all of
everything.
it. She was really into everything. So in 1984, she went to Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio to study liberal arts.
Nice.
And that's where she met guitarist Andrew Kessler, who went by the name Joe Spleen. I don't know why.
Joe Spleen.
Joe Spleen, right? Okay, so Joe Spleen. Drummer Steve Moriarty.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Steve Gallbladder or something.
Steve Gallbladder, right. Yeah, they're all going to be organs, right? And bassist Matt Dresdner, because there's a D in there.
Okay.
Right. Also known as Matt's stomach. I don't know.
I know. I was going for like, what's the male organ that they got to get
prostate?
Checked? Prostate.
Steve Prostate.
Stop.
Nice.
Yes. I'm Paul Prostate.
So this is the part, I just learned this part out, and I'd heard of the Gits before, but I didn't know this part until I just researched the story, and I knew you'd find this amusing too. So when they formed their band, they originally called themselves the Sniveling Little Rat-Faced Gits, which was based off of a Monty Python skit.
Sniveling rat-faced Gits. Which,
right?
Which one was it?
I guess that was a little difficult for audiences, so they just shortened it to the Gits.
I love it. That's so much better.
That's where the name came from, right?
I love it. Okay.
So, so they formed there, but then in 1989, they decided, all four of them, to move to Seattle to be part of the developing music scene.
Wow. That's probably very smart.
Right?
That's a good spot to start.
The Capitol Hill section of Seattle at the time was an area that was great for cheap rent, drugs, crime.
Perfect.
You know.
All the things you want. All rolled up in one.
Ask for. Exactly. And it was the hub of that grunge punk music scene. Again, I'm trying not to use too many labels, but there was a lot of...
But yeah, it was great.
You know, a lot of the bars and clubs that they were playing was there.
Totally.
So Mia took a job at a local bar, and the four of them moved into an abandoned house.
Oh, that sounds safe.
Oh, doesn't that sound nice? And they nicknamed it the Rat House.
I was just going to say rats and roaches and no water. Well, probably all the water, natural water, but not running
They're living
water.
the dream. They're living that rock and roll dream, aren't they?
Ooh, living the dream. Glad I went to college for this. Yeah.
And I'm sure her parents thrilled.
Yes, I'm sure they're
thrilled,
so happy they spent that money.
So the band quickly grew a following, and they often played shows with the group 7 Year Bitch, who I've also heard of.
It's not 7 Year Itch. It's 7 Year Bitch.
I don't know that I've heard their music, but I am familiar with their name. I know it was an all-girl
band.
Is amazing. 7 Year Bitch. Isn't that great?
Yeah, they had the best names back then. Oh my god.
I know. So the members of the two bands were friends, so sometimes they'd play shows together. Mia became very popular with the Seattle feminist community, right?
Mm-hmm.
A friend described her as the hub of several social circles, a magnetic personality who drew all sorts of people together who otherwise might have never met.
Aw. So she just was like a people lover.
Yeah,
Everybody
she was
her.
able to blend. She wasn't dressed like she could blend, but she did.
But she did.
You know,
once you got to know her, probably those type of people that you get to know them and you're like, ow, you're not as scary as I thought you were.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Right. Don't let the fact that I haven't washed my hair in 4 weeks fool you. I am a genuinely nice person.
All right.
So if we go to the summer of 1993, the Gits had actually been on a West Coast tour.
Ooh, wow.
And
they must be doing good. Are they still living in Rat Town?
I believe so. Maybe that's how they were doing so well. They were saving all their money.
Or doing drugs with it.
So they had actually just returned home to Seattle for a few days, and then they were supposed to go on the next leg of their tour.
Wow.
And they actually had scheduled a U.S. tour, and then they were supposed to go to Europe for a while and then come back to the U.S. again. So they were,
They were totally doing good.
They were doing really good. I believe they had released 2 indie albums.
Wow.
They were...
That's badass.
I think it's safe to say that if Mia had not been murdered, the Gits would have become...
they probably would have become like Pearl
well
Jam,
known, like
one of the big ones.
Exactly. It's really sad, right?
It's very sad.
So another kind of weird thing is 2 months before the murder, Mia told Steve Moriarty, the drummer from the Gits, that she wanted to write a song about a serial killer. And he was like,
"It's weird.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to do that?" And she's like, "Well, because it's happening so much."
I'm a blooming true crime aficionado.
Right?
Yes.
So she wrote a song about being killed by a stranger. So it was about herself being killed. Yes. So it was from like first
that gives
person.
Me chills.
Right?
No.
Being killed by a stranger called Sign of the Crab.
Huh.
And
so what kind of crabs we talking? The edible kind or the...
I assumed it was astrological, but I could be wrong.
Oh, no. All right.
No? Okay. I am, but, whatever.
I think you're probably right.
So,
my head was going, I think of rat-infested places and it goes all over the...
Yeah, I'm sure...
goes all the wrong direction. Yep. All right.
Okay, so some of the lyrics are, anything to get me in and then get me killed. Go ahead and slash me up, spread me all across this town. 'Cause you're the one that won't be found.
Yikes. Whoa.
Right?
Okay, don't write songs like that because it might come true. Stop it.
Right? I mean, yikes. Okay.
Yeah, self-fulfilling.
Another little side fact here. Mia was 27 years old at the time of her murder. 27. So, she is considered part of the 27 Club, which is like that. It's the name given to like the musicians and artists and all who all died at the age of 27.
Oh.
So I looked it up. So that includes like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison.
Oh my gosh.
So then she was murdered in 93. The following year, Kurt Cobain was 27.
Was he? That's what I was going to ask. Kurt Cobain. Oh my God.
And then in 2011 was Amy Winehouse, and she was also 27.
Whoa.
And there's a whole
bunch
list if you look it up, but those were the ones that I knew the best. Yeah. So I was like, dang, right?
So sad.
Ugh, right?
Ugh. Okay.
God, okay.
I'm way beyond that at least.
So, yeah, so we're
good.
I double that yet? We're not going to think about, that's math, I don't do math on Sundays.
And so, we won't speak it into existence.
Exactly.
Okay.
Detectives tried to track Mia's whereabouts on the night of her murder, right? So it was like 3:20 in the morning. So they went back to like the night before and was like, okay, where was she? What was she doing?
Yeah, was she playing a scene?
So friends said that she had spent most of the night at a local bar called the Comet Tavern. Okay, so she was hanging with them. And then around midnight, she left to visit a friend who lived in an apartment that was only a block away.
Okay.
Then she left that apartment around 2 a.m. alone on foot.
This is what we don't do, people. No walking on foot alone by yourself, especially as a girl.
Right.
As a woman.
That is... You just basically gave the gist of this entire episode. Don't do that. So she left that apartment at 2 a.m. She was discovered 80 minutes later. So.
Oh my gosh.
All that time.
Wow.
So so she was, and for all that happened to her.
And they don't think it was at the scene either.
Right.
Where she was
killed. She would have had to have been grabbed, assaulted, and then dumped.
Oh
within that 80 minutes. Because she was warm when they found her.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So she was discovered 80 minutes later, less than half of a mile from that apartment.
Oh, my God. It must have happened right when she got out.
Right.
Oh.
And that was at the intersection of 24th Avenue South and Washington Street in Seattle's Central District. I don't know where these all meet up or whatever, but anyway. None of Mia's friends believed that she would willingly get into a stranger's car. Like, she wouldn't have, like, if someone had pulled up and be like, hey, you need a ride, like, she wouldn't have, that wasn't her thing.
Yeah.
And she preferred to walk places, regardless of the time of day or night, which is not a good idea.
Yeah.
And then this is the other problem. She always would walk with her headphones on and music playing.
Dude.
So police believe she may not have heard anyone approach her.
Right.
And so she was probably surprised. Someone probably came up from her behind, grabbed her, put her into a vehicle, and then driven somewhere.
I cannot stress. Like, I've tried to tell my kids not to, like, walk with their noise canceling, because there was a girl that was killed here, like, 5 years ago, walking on the train tracks. Train tracks with her noise canceling headphones on.
Are you serious?
Yes,
Oh, my God.
they knew her. Like, they went to school with her, and I'm like, God.
You guys, if that
don't.
doesn't scare you into doing it, man, I don't know what would.
At least keeping one off, maybe, you know, if you've got the earbuds.
I don't even like to walk around in broad daylight.
I know.
Noise canceling headphones on. It makes me nervous because I don't like being surprised.
Yep, and that was her, broad daylight, walking down the tracks. Didn't hear it coming.
Oh, God, that's awful. So, yes, I mean, if you find yourself in a situation where you're alone at night walking, I don't care, man, woman, child, you know, be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, at
like,
least
she
have
just
one
had no
ear
fear.
out. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
just, you know, pay attention.
Yeah. Oh, poor girl.
The autopsy found that Mia had been kicked and kneed in the abdomen so severely that her liver was lacerated.
Holy shit.
So the ME actually said had she not been strangled, the beating alone would have killed her eventually.
Jesus. Was she a little person? Not a little person, but like real small or anything? Or?
I don't think so. They didn't really talk about that. I would assume she was average size then. Probably not petite, but not big either. So
okay.
She had been sexually assaulted. Her bra and underwear had been stuffed into her pocket.
Oh, poor thing.
The medical examiner noticed a bite mark on her breast.
Yeah,
that
right? Takes me back to the Double D episode.
Right?
No, bad.
Ugh. So the area was swabbed and sent to the lab to test for the presence of saliva to see if maybe they could get some DNA, right? So the good news was there was saliva recovered, but there was such a tiny amount that the DNA could not be extracted based on that technology at the time.
Back then.
Right?
Dang it. Okay.
But they did save it in a storage freezer.
Okay, good.
Just in case. So they did
use
have
it up or something, because I've
so
heard of that happening too. Like
Exactly. Oh, right.
Okay.
Investigators questioned a boyfriend that Mia had recently split with, named Robert. I don't know his last name. I only found Robert. So
Bob Liver.
Weird. Yeah, Bob. Right. A friend who had been with her at the bar that night said that Mia was very drunk and still very angry with her ex, and that it was possible she was going to try to find him that night.
Ooh.
You know, talk to him, yell at him. I don't know. Right?
Back some revenge. Okay.
Robert told the police that he did not see Mia that night. He actually had been out himself with friends drinking, and he was very cooperative. He agreed to a polygraph test, which he passed. Okay. He had a solid alibi, and so he got ruled out right away.
Okay. Oh.
So police also found that she had a large group of friends, lots of fans.
Yeah,
you know,
she was pretty popular. Yeah.
She was pretty popular, right? And a lot of these people had, you know, criminal backgrounds, violent backgrounds.
Not like
right.
The music scene's not always
right. It wasn't all the upstanding citizens of the time, right? But they couldn't find anyone that had any motive to kill her.
Oh no. Okay.
She was not into the drug scene, so they didn't see a potential lead there.
That's what I was gonna wonder about, just because the potential for that would be
right. Exactly. You know, drugs and rock and roll, they kind of go hand in hand, right? So being that Mia was, you know, she was kind of a local celebrity. A lot of people knew her. They thought maybe her killer could have been a crazed fan or a stalker.
Gross.
Right. And that really kind of unsettled everybody, too, because they're like, it could be one of us, just like around here. So friends and fans put up posters asking for anyone with information to contact the police, and they got all kinds of tips, but they had no suspects. Nothing was panning out. So the case kind of went cold.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Joan Jett from Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, right?
Yes.
She actually wrote and recorded a song called Go Home for her 94 album with her band, the Blackhearts. Aww. And the video was dedicated to Mia Zapata in the interest of trying to raise awareness for her unsolved murder. Because she had heard about it and she was like,
how sweet. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
In 1995, the remaining members of the Gits contacted Joan Jett and asked if she would record a live album with them.
Oh, how cool.
So that and then perform some shows to help raise money because they wanted to hire a private investigator. Because they didn't feel like the police were doing enough.
Yeah. Or cared much about somebody. Kind of
so they were like, So she agreed. And they played under the name Evil Stig. Evil Stig, which is Gets Live spelled backwards.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
So they didn't want to do the Gets without Mia. But so they did that. So I thought that was really
pretty cool. Plus, Joan Jett will rip your heart out if you mess with her. So, yes, get her on board.
I saw that several other bands, including Hootie and the Blowfish and Sonic Youth, donated money to the cause.
Very cool.
Like, a lot of people in the music industry were like, this needs to be solved.
That's so cool.
In 1996, a benefit album was recorded called Home Alive, The Art of Self-Defense. It was recorded in Mia's memory, and it had contributions from Nirvana, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, and others. And all of it was to help raise awareness for her, for this private investigator, and to start this organization called Home Alive that encourages women to learn self-defense.
That is awesome. I like this. Okay.
Right? So this is all is all good. So
yeah, at least some good's coming out of it.
Right. Well, that's kind of, at least if she's going to have a legacy, it's a positive one.
Yeah. At least it hopefully saves other lives.
Right.
Yeah.
So the remaining members of the band, they used their own money, they used all the fundraising money, and they hired this private investigator named Lee Heron. Okay. She went and re-interviewed everybody the police questioned. And there was all the fans, all the people at the bars, all the people who, there was a lot.
Plus it'd been years. Oof.
Right, exactly. And she even went and spoke to every prostitute she could find, asking if they knew anything, saw anything at all.
Yeah. They'd probably be the ones on the street actually witness things.
Right, but there were nobody had witnessed anything. No one saw anything. So when the money ran out to pay her, she actually continued to work on the case in her free time.
Oh, cool. Wow, there's so many good people. When you think there's the shitty people, there's some good ones that come out of the net.
They're in there somewhere, Yeah. Unfortunately, she couldn't come up with anything.
Oh, no.
There was nothing. There were the forensic files that I saw, she said something along the lines of, she's like, either somebody with information was going to have to say something, or there was going to have to be some kind of DNA situation. She's like, there was nothing. There were no leads. There was nothing else to do. Little tidbit, the same year that Mia was murdered, 1993, Carrie Mullis won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for inventing a new technology for testing very small samples of DNA.
Yay, Carrie. You said Carrie?
Yes. Known as polymerase chain reaction. Whatever. Oh, they call it PCR. We're going to go with PCR.
PCR. Right? Mm-hmm. We'll go with that.
PCR allows these tiny samples to be amplified into larger pieces. Don't totally get the science, but there was a pretty little graphic on the TV. It was nice.
That looked, I'll believe it. I'll believe it. Say it's science and I'll believe it. Yes. Okay.
Right. So investigators still had that tiny saliva sample. But the technique would essentially destroy the whole sample in the process.
Freaks me out. Okay.
Right. So even though PCR existed, they decided to wait
until there's
a little longer and see if it got perfected.
Okay.
Right. So, I understand.
But yeah, I get it. I would probably wait too, just to be on the safe side.
So they waited. They waited for 9 years.
9 years.
9 years, right?
Dang it. And meanwhile, this person could be out there killing more people.
So we are now up to 2001.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a long time.
I know. Well, especially when you go from 90s to 2000.
Yeah,
it's not, but it feels really
It does. We're in another century. What? Yeah.
Right? So in 2001, the swab from Mia's autopsy was tested using the PCR technology.
Okay.
And the technique had been refined where it could use a microscopic sample.
That's awesome. So they didn't have to waste the whole thing.
So they didn't have to waste the whole thing just in case.
Okay.
They were able to pull a mixed profile that showed DNA from Mia Zapata and an unknown male.
Oof, wow. Mm-hmm.
So they took the profile, the male profile. They knew who she was.
Yeah.
So they took the male profile.
I know her.
Right. And they entered it into CODIS, but there was no match found.
Okay, so I hadn't been to jail.
Right?
Shit.
So, once again, her murder became a cold case. It was like, yay!
It would have been
but
nice had they taken everyone's DNA that they had
right?
interviewed.
Yep. Yeah. I can't imagine how long that would... well, it doesn't matter. Anyway.
I know.
But you're right. In a perfect world, it would have been super awesome.
In a perfect world.
But this time, it only stayed cold for about 12 months.
Ooh, that's pretty quick. Okay.
Right?
What'd he do? What'd she do?
So, detectives were notified that CODIS found a match. The DNA was that of 48-year-old Jesus Mesquia, who was a Cuban exile.
Oh,
Bum, bum,
interesting.
bum.
Yeah. Shouldn't he be in Miami? Miami.
Well, at this point, he is.
Oh, that's funny.
Good
See?
call.
I knew it.
All the best stories have a link to Florida.
I know. I was figuring. It's like, it's got to go back there. It's got to go back.
So, Jesus had been kicked out of Cuba in the 80s because he was a felon. So, by all means, come here.
Yeah, thanks. We'll take you. No.
Right? Yay!
Oh, those are the ones we want.
Right. So, since then, he had acquired quite a long criminal record in multiple states.
I'll bet he did.
He had convictions for aggravated battery of a pregnant woman in 1997.
Wow. Yikes.
Kidnapping, false imprisonment, robbery, and indecent exposure in Florida. Although,
Ew.
I mean,
that...
it
must have been really indecent.
must have been really hot in Florida. Right? Maybe he was just sweating a lot. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it's just...
And he had battery of a spouse and assault to commit rape in California.
Jeez, how's he out so many times?
Right? And there was something else that they said he had something in Arizona, but I couldn't find what it was.
Crabs.
So, he likes to get around.
Yeah.
Crabs. Crabs in Arizona.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe that was the reason for the indecent exposure. He was just trying to let the crabs
trying
out.
to burn him away.
Right, exactly, right.
Get off of me, crabs.
Oh, dear God. Okay. So, Jesus had just been let out of jail on probation after being convicted of possessing burglary tools in 2002, which I was kind of curious. How do you know it's burglary tools?
Yeah, what if it's just like he's a locksmith?
Right. I mean, what makes, like, a crowbar and a ski mask? What makes burglary tools? I don't...
Right, or all those little key kits you can get.
Right, oh yeah, with all the little... Right.
My son always wanted one of those, yeah. So he could get arrested for having that?
Right,
Weird.
exactly. I'm not buying that shit.
No.
Yeah, I was curious, how do you have a burglar...
Yeah, weird.
Right, okay, so anyway.
Okay.
So now he was living in Marathon, Florida. And as a condition of his probation, he was required to submit 2 cheek swab samples.
Nice, good.
Yay!
Good.
Finally, after all that shit that he did,
Now
they want his DNA.
Wow.
Good Lord. So the Seattle U.S. Marshals contacted their counterparts in Florida and asked them to look up Jesus and then, kind of keep tabs on him until they got there,
watch
right?
this guy, yeah.
Yeah, and they agreed. But when the Seattle agents got to his house, he was not there.
Now.
And they didn't know where he was.
Cuba?
So, little panic again, right?
Yeah.
But he did return home a few days later.
Ew.
But seriously, it was kind of like every time they would catch a break, something would happen, right? But he did come back a few days later because he had taken a job on a fishing boat in Miami.
Miami.
See?
Yes, I knew it would come back.
See, you knew it, right?
Yeah.
And he agreed he was like, I'll talk to Seattle detectives, whatever. He wasn't worried.
I forgot about it. I forgot I did that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No, that was the early 90s. That was so long ago.
Right. Who can remember such things, right? This I thought was kind of interesting. Knowing that it was unlikely that Jesus would confess.
Yeah.
Because, he's got this rap sheet.
Right.
Right?
Like, I've done so much shit, I'm not going to tell you what I did.
Right, exactly. They decided to set kind of like a trap for him.
Ooh, okay, I like traps.
They showed him pictures of 5 women, like nice pictures of them, not like autopsy pictures, like nice, right? So nice pictures of these women. One of them,
murder pictures.
One of them was Mia.
Ooh, okay.
And she obviously stood out because the rest of them were all middle of the road, average of the time. And then there was Mia with her dreadlocks and grunge clothes and, no makeup and, she didn't, one of these things is not like,
she didn't stick,
right. she was obvious, right? They did that on purpose. Like, you would recognize her,
Okay.
They showed him the pictures and he was like, nope, I don't know any of them. And they're like, what if I told you that you killed one of these women?
Oh.
And he was like, this is,
I don't remember that.
Well, I said I didn't know them. I didn't say I didn't kill them. I mean, let's not be ridiculous, I know you're being
crazy
so specific,
Details.
It was weird. He said, no kill. And then he stood up and the detective said he put out his hands and said, see, no shake. Like, see, I'm not lying.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. I was like,
I still thought that was like weird. I was like,
shake. Okay.
All right, whatever.
Gotcha.
So, but he denied. He said he didn't know her. He'd never seen her. Nothing.
Okay.
By doing that, he gave up any reasonable explanation for why his saliva would be on her breast.
Ah, so they did trap him that way.
Tricky.
So smart.
Because if he had said, he dated her, or
he would have had an excuse.
Didn't know her, never seen her before.
Right, I like it.
All right, man, that's cool, right?
Well, then why would your saliva be on her boob? Weird.
Right,
Weird.
Exactly. So a new sample of his DNA was taken there, and they matched it again to the DNA found on Mia, and they said the frequency of that profile in the U.S. was 1.5 trillion. Oh. So they were fairly certain they had the right person.
Yeah, unless his dentures fell out while he was biting.
Someone else's,
right. Someone else was like, I need to use these things.
Right, yeah. So he dropped a lollipop and someone picked it up, and I mean,
all gross.
Right?
He nasty.
Once they arrested him, they found out that Jesus Mesquia had once lived in Seattle, just 3 blocks from where Mia's body was found.
Oh, he took
which is why you don't dump a body right next to where you live. But
whatever.
I mean,
he got away with it for a long time.
He got away. Yeah, so. I guess it did. Maybe you do.
Maybe you
Never mind. Maybe you do.
Maybe
because
you
people
do.
would be like,
did a good job.
Right. Who'd be stupid enough to leave it right here?
Right.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus would.
So, right. After he was arrested and his picture was in the paper, a Seattle resident called police to say that she recognized him as a man who had exposed himself to her just 2 weeks before the murder. So he really likes flashing.
It's like, take
Nobody
a
wants
look
to
at
see it,
this ding-a-ling-a-ling.
It is not as impressive as you think it is. Okay.
It's not as great as you think it is.
Right. And then another woman called in and reported that the man in the paper had sexually assaulted her a few months after the murder, but she had not filed a police report.
Oh, well, yeah, you hear about it a lot. I know. I get it.
But maybe if both of them had, I don't know, maybe they would have found him, the sketch artist. I don't know. Who's to say?
I know, you never know.
Who's to say, right? So, prosecutors suspected that Jesus was just out cruising when he spotted Mia and saw an opportunity. They didn't think that, he
didn't pre-plan anything. He's
right.
Just like,
he didn't know her. He wasn't a fan. It was just, he saw a woman by herself in the middle of the night walking, distracted.
Yep. Oh, see.
She had been drinking. She had her headphones on.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have been listening to I Hate My Boyfriend music.
Oh, yes.
Really loudly.
Totally.
I mean, and just been in that zone, right? And,
Oh, and you feel fearless and everything when you're when you're that angry. Oh,
yeah,
dang
seriously. In 2004, Jesus Mesquia was finally tried and convicted of first-degree felony murder for the death of Mia Zapata. At his sentencing, drummer Steve Moriarty spoke about Mia and said, her lyrics could make you feel as if every song she wrote was written for you. Mm-hmm. And then he was talking about what a big heart she had and how she connected to so many people. And he turned and looked at Jesus Mesquia and said, ironically, she probably would even have kind words for you.
Oh, that makes me,
I know, I have chills now. I have chills now, and I've already read that and typed it out, so.
I know.
Jeez. Oh, God, so, Jose Mesquia was sent, Jose, Jesus.
Now, poor Jose, there's a Jose Mesquia out there,
right, he's like, yo, I did nothing.
I didn't do anything.
Jesus Mesquia was sentenced to 36 years in prison, which was the maximum allowed by law.
Good.
And he died in January of 2021 at the age of 66.
Wow. Oh, what a scumbag.
Ultimately, Mia's murder was the end of the Gits. They did not,
Yeah, they
anything they did beyond that was just to help solve her murder.
Wow. Gosh,
And then-
that's sad. I mean, look at how one person's life ripples down to everyone else. So, like, he didn't
Everything
just
could have
destroy
been
her
different
life.
for
He destroyed
all
a
of them.
ton. Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh.
But then here is a quote from Joan Jett that I read in, there was a Rolling Stone article in 2021 after Jesus died.
Okay.
They did another like interview with all the people involved and stuff. And so this is what Joan Jett had to say. I think the Gits in general were on that trajectory to becoming a well-known famous band because they had a fan base and a great audience in the Northwest. They had great songs and Mia had a great stage presence. I'm sure they would have been whatever they wanted to be. Her legacy should be beautiful, strong punk rock music coming from a woman's perspective because that's who she was.
Aww. Dang it.
And now I have goosebumps again.
That dickhead, he took away something that we all could have enjoyed more, you know?
Right? Oh my God. It's just...
How sad. What a loss. Thanks for bringing me down, Jen.
Jeez. Right? That's what I'm here for. Yay!
But there were crabs, so at least we had that.
It was the sign of the crabs.
It was the sign
He
of the
had crabs.
He had crabs.
So many
We lived in
crabs.
Florida. Well, Seattle has crabs. There's a lot of crabs in
One
this.
crab for murder. No.
Yeah. Dungeness. One Dungeness.
Dungeness from the gross. Oh, would you like to hear my sources? I actually have some interesting ones this time.
I think so. Ooh.
Okay,
Wikipedia.
so of course Wikipedia. Of course Wikipedia. And then you know, everything kind of spreads from there, right? So there was Forensic Files, season 12, episode 7, The Day the Music Died.
Oh.
There are a whole bunch of, like, I think 48 Hours did a thing on her, and American Jet, like a whole bunch did things like in the 9 years they were, like, she was unsolved.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay, so
I think there were a bunch of those too.
Yeah.
Then I also got info from theculturetrip.com,
Ooh.
the Seattle Post Intelligencer.
Wow.
Right, it was, I think I'm reading that right. It was a really weird name. Rolling Stone.
Perfect.
And musicaholics.com.
Wow. There was
Yeah,
totally
some new
different
ones.
sources. Yes.
New
I
ones.
like it.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. How sad.
I know. I also read, it was kind of interesting, the college that she went to was like this very liberal, you create your own course of study.
Oh.
I was like, what's this? I mean,
Yes, so that
it
you're not
sounded
wasting money
awesome.
on things you really don't need.
Right. But it also
would be
sounds like
nice.
it really didn't prepare you for anything in particular.
But it sounds really fun.
But it sounds like it would have been awesome.
Oh,
you know,
totally. Yeah.
you know, like for like a summer camp. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like-
Can I go to the summer camp arts college? That sounds amazing. See, and that's kind of what people are doing these days, going to tech colleges and stuff instead of the full regular college route, which I think is smart.
Right. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I'm still working on it.
Yeah,
I've changed my mind several times.
Me too. I keep going different careers. Oh well, that was awesome. I also thought of drawstring because she was murdered with that, but it wasn't a whole bunch of drawstrings. I like.
Well, she was killed with a drawstring.
Yeah, but I like how the pedal was about her whole career.
Yeah, distortion pedal. Well, when I first was doing it, I thought of demo, but I was like, they were past the demo stage.
Yeah.
Plus, doesn't necessarily that could also like be like demolition, and I'm like,
True.
I don't have anything to do it. So
That's
then all of
true.
a sudden I was like, distortion.
Distortion.
pedal.
I love
And
it.
this wasn't even one of the 3 stories that I started last week. Like all of a
Wow, I
sudden I was like,
hate that. I do that so often, and I'm like, I just wasted a ton of time on that.
I know. Well, I get started, and then I'm like, I'm not feeling this one. And then, I turn on the TV, and what's this story?
Yes,
Oh.
I do the same stupid stuff, and then I'm like, I wasted 3 days writing that other, but they can always turn into something later.
I know. I do have like 3 that I've like flagged that like really caught my attention, but they're so recent that there isn't enough information yet.
I know.
And they have great D names too.
Oh,
I'm
dang
like,
it. I know. I've noticed
the
some of
info.
those too, and I'm like, come on, solve it. Solve it. Yes.
Give me some information.
So maybe why we need an inside source.
Is it like the meme that I posted where it was like, I'm tired of doing research, so I'm just going to commit my own murders for a
Yes.
podcast?
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect.
So I'm sorry.
Like,
how did she know that they were going to be home alone? I don't know.
Yeah. It's like the one Dexter, because he definitely wrote his own.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a creepy, crazy, gross dude.
Yeah, he was. The mask and everything.
Hey, Oddies. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM. If you're a longtime listener, hey, we cannot thank you enough for your continued support. And if you're a new listener, thanks for giving us a try. If you like us, please drop us a like, subscribe, or rate us so we can share our stories with more people around the world. And if you'd like more information, like links to our podcast and socials, along with our Patreon fan page, those links are all on Linktree under ODFM Podcast. That's linktr.ee/ODFM Podcast. Side note, you guys, we're obsessed with fan art, and we love making things with it, like stickers for our fans. So if you'd like us to use your designs, send it to us at odfmpodcast@gmail.com. And if we use your design, we'll be sure to send you a sticker.
Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful.